Welcome in John Ramsden and Robin Black for another edition of 3 Rounds, chatting welterweights today, I understand.
Well, we're talking about the welterweight division because right now, Robbie Lawler, I think if you are a hardcore fight fan, and maybe even a casual fight fan, you love this guy. But when it comes to pay-per-view sales, I don't think Robbie Lawler translates. I think a lot of people say, okay, he's a remarkable martial artist and he's a great fighter, but he's not the pay-per-view draw like Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey, and who knows, now it's Holly Holm. It seems like now Ronda Rousey's taken off the shelf, and Holly Holm's put up there. She was on Kelly Ripa, the Sports Center. She's the new star. When it comes to building stars in the UFC, you've talked about spreadsheets and all this stuff and how the UFC can make the most when it comes down to the financials. With Ronda Rousey losing, does this hurt the UFC's model for making money with the girls?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'm going to choose to live under a rock and put my head under there and think that whoever is the best fighter is the biggest star. That's what I'm going to choose.
Like, but that's not the case.
Yeah, I know. But I wanted to play Republican and only go with the worldview that I believed. But no, it isn't the case. And maybe it's unfortunate. Maybe it's a reflection of the fact that the sport exists, the fights exist, fighters exist, but the job of the corporation, that Dana White, who's I think the greatest promoter that's probably ever lived. I think we can agree in the world of promotion, that is the man's gift. And they start to find ways to take something that's working and then make it stratospheric. But the easiest ones to do are the ones that just are stars and go and put them in fights. Conor McGregor is a star. When he opens his mouth, when he does stuff, when he waves his hands around, when he tears up pictures, we all pay attention. Ronda's beautiful and polarizing. Some people love her and some people hate her. She's just has an insane type of confidence that you're uncertain if it's real or fake, but you're curious about it. Those kind of stars come along and the UFC does their thing and it works. It's much harder to make a star than it is to just support a star.
Well, the UFC, they're talking about Anderson Silva making his return to the promotion sometime in 2016, taking on Vitor Belfort. Clearly Anderson Silva, one of the biggest stars the UFC has ever had, and also making his return, rumored to be making his return, Nick Diaz, one of the most beloved characters in all of mixed martial arts. And when you look at the UFC's welterweight division right now, Robbie Lawler has faced off with Nick Diaz in the past. Nick Diaz stopping Robbie Lawler by strikes. Is this something that the UFC looks at and says, okay, if Robbie Lawler gets a victory over Nick Diaz in the rematch, Robbie Lawler becomes the star. He gets all of Nick Diaz's heat.
Yeah, you know what? About 10 minutes ago, I thought, you can't just beat somebody who's a star to become a star. But then all of a sudden you said Anderson Silva, and I realized that that's not true. Because, hey, and I'm not knocking Anderson Silva, and I'm talking just facts. If a star is defined by their ability to sell pay-per-views, generate income, their Q rating and all that stuff, Anderson Silva was never a star until he fought my man Chael Sonnen. That's the truth. Chael Sonnen became a big star. He had tons of heat. He was a brilliant fighter, but he was a brilliant talker and a brilliant performer, and he made Anderson Silva a star.
A bigger star, because I think it's safe to say when you look back in the fights of Dan Henderson and Rich Franklin and the stuff that Anderson Silva did leading up to Chael Sonnen, I think he was revered by the martial arts community and all the fans that tuned into the UFC on a regular basis.
Like Robbie Lawler is.
Yeah, like Robbie Lawler is.
So they're stars.
Right.
Chael Sonnen was a megastar, and he made Anderson Silva a megastar. Ronda Rousey was a megastar. Did she make Holly Holm one?
I don't know. I not necessarily for this. I mean, it sold 1 million pay-per-views, so a lot of people tuned in to see Holly Holm, and then they saw what she did to Ronda Rousey. It wasn't just a decision victory or split decision victory. It was definitive, and I would not be surprised if the second fight was as big, if not bigger than the first fight, based on the outcome. And you know, you've seen Holly Holm. She's outspoken, she's bubbly, she's very likable, she's beautiful. I would not be surprised to see her become a big star as well.
Well, this whole question, you said the casual fan, that's what this conversation is for. Because you and I don't care. The best fighters are the fighters that are stars to us. But in this world where you need that extra 800,000 people to view it to make a star, that's who this conversation is for.
If Robbie Lawler knocks out Nick Diaz, does Robbie Lawler get more heat than he's getting right now?
Robbie Lawler knocking out Nick Diaz?
If those two were to fight in 2016, you got the story, the build-up, Robbie Lawler emerges victorious by spectacular knockout.
I think Nick Diaz's return, I think that is going to be something above your just baseline pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I think that Robbie Lawler, I think it's fine that not every guy is going to sell 1 million pay-per-views. I don't think we have to discredit someone that's doing half that or even a quarter of that. But nonetheless, that would be a very entertaining fight to see the rematch of.